Welcome back to the NAL with our third game of today. SSG going up against Envy. SSG has had a pretty good performance so far and they're heating up. But Envy, can they stop them? Because they have a little bit of an overheating problem themselves, but more in a negative way. I'm Jeannie, joined with Foxay and Lax, and we're going to break this one down, starting off with SSG.
Yeah, SSG, I mean, this is a team that we've talked about time and time again. It's a hot and cold, whether you're going to get a hot SSG or you're going to get a cold SSG. And realistically, I think they've been hot overall. Sure, they had that comeback from Wildcard, but realistically, they've been looking good through and through. And I think a good quote or a good phrase that's said is, don't fix something that isn't broken. And we clearly saw that. In Reload, they wanted to change their playstyle, put it around Newers. Didn't work. They come into the NAL, they now focus on their strength of being aggressive, and that is actually where we are now seeing them thrive. They didn't need to fix anything, they just had to resort back to what is more comfortable for them. And especially throughout their matches so far in their game against Cruelty, I mean, SSG really is looking to be dominant. I just think they just need a little more time of putting Newers in his position and then also finding Benja on top of their position. But I mean, through and through, so far, I'm pretty convinced with how SSG has been playing.
Yeah, I'm happy with their performance so far. I agree completely. I think the more time that players, specifically like Benja, gets more acclimated to playing that flex role. I mean, obviously, Newers is doing his part. Ashen back on the entry is obviously the best player in the NAL right now, so I think it goes without saying, a little bit more time and they'll be comfortable.
Yeah, and even with a little more time, and when we look at their attacks, I mean, they're the 4th highest rated team attacking so far, and that's where it goes into. They're being able to play into their aggressive nature that Fultz talked about is, they want to play the smaller maps because it allows them to play so aggressive. There's less chances of possibly being able to overextend, and I think it really paints the picture, especially when you looked at that graph. All the top 4 teams are within that same 60 percentile, and then it immediately falls off to a 40%. And we've already talked about it. Attack is the harder side. So if you're already doing above a halfway point of that 50%, you're at 60%, SSG is looking very strong.
I think the most shocking thing about that stat is that out of all the bottom teams, Cruelty's the best attacking team. That's a big shock, but obviously SSG, I mean, yeah, I think they're in a good constant. They're trying to get more accustomed to being that top team. We always see them in that top 4, but we don't always feel comfortable saying SSG is a top 2
the top
team.
4, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I guess, as well for their side of things is just needing a little bit of time to gel together, not just as the roster, but also how they're playing, this being the regional league, getting used to things. But it is play day number 4, and again, it is a single round robin. You want to get top 6, you want to get as many points as possible, so you got to lock in. And that's the same story for Envy, because like Envy on the leaderboard, they're not looking pretty.
Nah, they're not too comfortable. They're towards the bottom, but like we said, out of all the teams at the bottom, I'd say they have the most room for potential, most room for growth, because I feel like they're doing a good job at improving day to day. Obviously, yesterday against OXG was such a close game, and if they just focused a little bit more on fundamentals, it would have gotten in their favor, because they had great entry statistics and they had great trading statistics at the end of the day. But obviously, the biggest issue for them came to over-peaking, and that was the biggest mishap, but it didn't come from just over-peaking because of the simple things that we see from Envy where they're a new team and struggling. It's these clips specifically where they get the man advantage and then immediately throw it back. They were confident. They had the energy against OXG, and even when they had man advantages, they would just constantly give it back. Here's a nice little 2v3 where if you play off of your teammate JJ Blast, maybe tides can turn, and it's little minute details of a swing like that that could go in your favor, but because it doesn't, it guarantees you lose that round.
And the reality is, you're a newer player. You're coming from that T2 league where you aren't getting punished as hard for things like this. Some of these plays don't necessarily need to make the most sense to you, whereas in T1, you pretty much have to make every play make sense to some degree. So in some areas, I can, understand why they're playing so aggressive, but it is a live and learn situation, whereas now going forward, hopefully once they find themselves in that winning position, they just learn to just take a breather, stop moving, and wait for the other team to make the mistake.
And one specific player as well that we were looking to highlight, or that you were looking to highlight, Fox, when it comes to overheating and getting that advantage and then kind of just like losing it, was Twist. Yeah,
Twist in week 1 didn't really show up. He was the lowest performer on Envy, but obviously yesterday against OXG, he popped off. He was so impactful on getting those kills, on winning rounds for Envy, but he was also a double-edged sword. He was a negative for Envy too, because in the rounds where he wasn't getting a multi-kill, he would get maybe an advantage or put himself in a position to trade his teammate, but then immediately give it back. Twist currently has the lowest survival rate in the NAL. He is constantly having bad performances, and obviously we can attribute that to a rough week 1. But when he's having an amazing performance like he did yesterday against OXG, and to then still have a very abysmal survival rating of 25% and constantly giving his body up, even in rounds that Envy should win, it's making things that much harder for Envy to have a successful, clean, full through start to finish round. If he can just focus on that, which is the fundamentals, him and the rest of Envy will look a lot stronger of an opponent to go up against.
So then you would want them to go to maps that highlight these fundamentals, or at least give them the opportunity to work on them a little bit more, because we're saying, you know, time and improvement and whatever, but again, like, the clock is ticking.
I think it doesn't really come down to a map specifically. It's up to Envy understanding when they need to peak and when they don't need to peak, especially when you get that man advantage. Let's stay slow. And a team like SSG is going to bite on that. If you give them that opportunity to go for a gunfight, SSG is going to want that gunfight.
And Cafe is definitely a map that you don't want to necessarily overextend on. It's already hard as an attacker trying to get in. You're starting on this defense as Envy, so you got to be comfortable here. And this is really where you don't want to give up these power positions or having to give up positions in general because you're overextending. You play your positions, especially on that top floor, you will be sitting pretty for once the team finally has to execute. And we've already seen from SSG in terms of being able to overextend them. That's a team that you don't want to allow them to set up because they are going to punish you.
Absolutely. And we gave the flowers to Envy in the last game that they played against SR on Cafe, and it was really good. They had amazing individual performances. Yep. And now if they can just wrap it all together under a nice little bow of the individual performances, but knowing when to get aggressive, when to stay put, especially against a team like SSG, if they can shut them down, shut that aggressive nature down, I mean, honestly, it could be a lot closer of a game than it might seem starting out on.
So does that mean that for prediction side of things, with Cafe being locked in and all these changes, you can maybe potentially possibly see a world where Envy does take it away from SSG? Because I know you guys don't agree.
I could see it.
I mean, I could see it. I'm still going to go with, I think, the safer bet of SSG.
Of course you are.
But I do want to say, with SSG being the 4th highest rated, I think really what's keeping them back compared to the other teams is that they aren't utilizing shields as much because Forrest was that player. So I do feel if they can use shields here into Cafe, we might see that success even higher for them on their attack percentage.
We might or we might not, but either way, we're going to find out as we're heading into our 3rd game of today of SSG going up against Envy with Extroika and Lynx.
Ginny, thank you very much indeed. We are ready and waiting to get stuck into our 3rd map of the day. Oh, how time flies when you're having fun. We're headed to Cafe this time. A bit of an SSG stronghold, Lynx.
Yes, a map that they love to play quite a bit. Don't get me wrong, it's no border, which is not only one of their favorite maps, but also by far and away probably their best over the past 1.5 to 2 years. But Cafe is a map they do love quite a bit. Basically, since stage 2 of last year, they played it at least 4 to 5 times, or 3 times, excuse me, at every single event save for Reload, and with some pretty good wins and losses to teams like Virtus Pro and FaZe being the only teams to knock them off of it in recent history. And VP have been playing Cafe since I was in high school, and FaZe are one of the best teams in the world, and obviously right now are being the world champions. So this map that SSG are strong on, a map that Envy just barely lost to Shopify last week though, Ollie. So against top teams, Envy have cut it close here.
Envy have been cutting it close since they started. Obviously, we've already mentioned there that they played up and came through Element. Now they're going up against one of the big dogs, one of the veteran orgs inside of North America in SSG. We've got some fairly interesting bans there for a Cafe. We actually get a Melusi and a Valkyrie ban on that defense. We do actually see our first Grim ban of the evening, along with a Ying. So there's quite a lot of options open here. And something that really screams to me as something that's open is going to be that Azami. JJ, he wastes no time immediately picking onto that. Even though we're not upstairs, we often speak about how good Azami can be upstairs in piano. Azami is great pretty much everywhere on every map. So you better believe we're going to see a lot of it played in these first couple of rounds.
And if I'm Envy right now and I've seen SSG ban Melusi, you know where I'm going to have at least one set of eyes transfixed the entire time, Ollie. Staircases. White stairs, red stairs, brown stairs. Where do you normally put those Banshees? Of course, you put them on walk-ups, but you also like to put them on those staircases to make sure that some of those powerful points on the map, the complete access between the bottom floor and the top floor and vice versa, make sure nobody creeps up. Envy took a round off Shopify by noticing that there were no Banshees on white stairs, creeping in, getting a plant down inside of the 2nd floor site. Not we're playing right now, but this is something Envy have done against Shopify in that game on Cafe, and it's something that I hope they're weary of. As SSG like to crank, they like to get aggressive, but that Banshee off the board, Not saying it will happen, but just be careful that nobody starts sneaking up white.
It's a very real possibility. Of course, as you mentioned there are quite a few staircases to keep a track of, so it does rely on quite a bit of coordination to do so. JJ dicing with death there as Snowdoll was getting pre-fired open. He was trying to get rid of the drone, and Twiz is even going to go and rotate down Brown as well. I just feel like both of those players have maybe narrowly missed out there. Being sent to the camera as Benja. He's retreated from the angle and is going to get himself into the drone. Emilio are going to be actively watching these red stairs as well as SSG. They've done the hard bit. They've made it to the building. That can often be one of the bigger obstacles here on Cafe.
Oh, yeah.
Now they can start to mount their attack.
And mounting it off the back of control gathered by Newers. Definitely a pickup that, not that I think Newers was a bad player, but replacing an IGL that plays a lot of shield to the primary entry was curious where the plan would go, but certainly one thing you can rely on. Newers taking that control, and you being pretty certain he's going to secure it, whether he has to take a fight or not. He's been one of the best entries in North America for the past 3 years since his entry on OXG back in 2022. And alongside Ashen moving on to that entry, one of the hottest rookie pickups over the past 2 years, you've got a very, very deadly combo if anybody decides to get in their way. But of course, from Envy, nobody has gotten in their way. Nobody on that second floor, all down on the first floor right now, and it's still taking 2 minutes to get this control. So as SSG open up these holes, it's still likely going to be a 5v5 until we get to about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I can't really decide how I feel about it at the moment. I feel like SSG have done a good job of taking a lot of map control. They're in that use the utility zone now, though, and we've seen them already swinging that sledgehammer and sending some nades downstairs. Does the players from Envy get a little bit more comfortable? I mean, this player in particular, JJ, he's going to be hard to deal with.
Well, hard to deal with and getting into... Oh, well, that's one way to deal with them, trying to get the hell out of Dodge, but popping that Vulcan pack at the exact right time, and because SSG have not dealt with the player bottom white, they're just collapsing around this freezer drop. J9 will find Emilio as Ben just looking to creep forward, but it is just like shooting or smoking out fish in a barrel for Envy, and yet somehow SSG keeping it even. Twist going for the flank, but J9 so patient. And they still find themselves trapped in freezer with 10 seconds remaining. They line up for JJ, still in this position. But how's Benja found that one? Snake peeks around the corner, and he just trades with them. A 1v1 right at the end. Came a lot closer than I thought, but Envy, despite that, upper hand the entire time.
Here we go again. More one-for-one trades to close out rounds. And everyone just left for a fraction of a second going, how did they win that? Who
That
won
was
that?
me. That was
Envy,
me
of course,
just then.
winning that round. I don't know how Benja got away with killing JJ, by the way, on the
No
other side of
idea.
that Kiba barricade. That was a little bit ridiculous. Very slippy player. SSG maybe just spending a little bit too much time. We kind of commented on it. Cafe, a difficult map. You usually spend around a minute, get into the building or get into your entry point. This point here, I mean, Benja, right place, right time, just as the smoke dissipated. J9O upstairs as well. You could kind of see the vision. You know, there's a couple of DMRs being brought from SSG. They recognize, right, we've let the Azami through. We have to bring the DMRs to deal with the Kiba barricades. But then again, if you're shooting at the Kiba barricade, you're not shooting at the guy that's swinging from behind it. Nades become your friend. Any projectile just goes to show the power of that Azami. JJ just getting that one singular kill tucked in there, just in kitchen. Really changing the way the round plays out. Moving off that basement level, that ground floor level, should I say. You now know that you're going to be dealing with that top floor and again, trying to get through that Azami.
Look at this shield coming in. Something I know Gabe mentioned before we got in this game, but something that we were all really curious about SSG were, hey, you're dropping, like, the shield guy in North America. Like, he's always picking shields for your team. Are you going to move somebody onto that role? What's the plan? And when we asked Call it that, he's like, oh, we're going to be a bit more flexible, you know, do what we want. And right now, Ashen's picking it up, and he thinks he can, I think, echo some of Forrest's accomplishments, pushing in deep. He's met no resistance to speak of. Benja with the shotgun has opened things up onto the 5v4. Nobody's home inside of the site. They've been trying to play retake, play the vertical, but if that was going to happen, you'd hope somebody would fire back at this point, and nobody does. 2 kills for Benja with the M59. And now Envy start dropping down with the Revolver 2. Benja is a menace. And SSG are indomitable, flawless to recover from their loss on basement.
It's a crank round.
Oh.
They cranked it.
Oh, they cranked it.
Ashen cranked it. Bolts cranked it. Benja cranked it. That was a full send. They were going for it. Little slingshot through that snow door. Bosch straight into the site. Good read and a great call. Hey, everyone's upstairs. They're still making vert. They've not got sufficient angles. I think we can push in and take this. A couple of smoke canisters get thrown out. A lot of confusion. Ben just starts getting kills elsewhere. And all of a sudden, bang, the plant is down. SSG really not wasting any time at all there. And showing a real sort of trademark of their playstyle. Not afraid to really change up the pace between one round and the next. Round 1, super slow. Not unwinnable either, let's be honest. It came down to a 1 versus 1. There wasn't a lot of time left. But round 2, lightning quick, blink and you miss it stuff. It just lets you sit here and wonder and ponder what we're going to see in round 3.
And especially when you talk about lack of fear, I mean, that's why I think SSG with shields can be so threatening, is because if Ashen doesn't see anybody on that shield, you think Ashen's going to stop moving? You think he's going to stay still? No. That boy's like Aaron Yeager. He's always moving forward. Like, he is not stopping until he hits somebody in the face with that ballistic shield. And when he carves that space through the site, SSG moved to fill it. As you move into the next go-around, Cocktail site. Second time we'll see Rora in this game so far. An operator we've seen quite a bit on Cafe and NA. Shopify have brought her quite a few times, just to cut out different positions and make it easier to acquire a beachhead in a map that can oftentimes be a little difficult to entry, but, well, down she goes. Rival just peeks the single window, taking a page out of Ashen's playbook, gets aggressive early, and reaps the benefits of it.
Yeah, we saw Aurora in round 1, but we didn't actually see any utility usage.
I'm 90% sure she didn't even use it because of how low time it was.
No, I think it's for the DMR, and I commented on it at the time, and I think it's just the Azami's up, you need a DMR, what do you want to play? You've kind of got a bit of flexibility. You look at the lineup, they're bringing 3 of them, or at least they were until Ashen fell.
Rest in peace.
Opening pick for Envy, though.
Ooh.
A little bit uncharacteristic for them, given their low entry kill rate. However, J90 will get it back. It's a late trade, but it's a trade nonetheless. And we're still left with some SSG players sort of scrambling around on the roof, kind of wondering which way they want to go.
If they did want to bring the Roar for that utility, it is a bit of a problematic moment, but then again, SSG kind of, I mean, it's not unique for them to do a cocktail take, like plenty of teams do it, but when I think of SSG attacking cocktail, it is certainly putting a lot of pressure on this side early on, but typically with more utility and typically more successfully, they'll throw those flashbangs and nades in all at the same time, and instead they're playing passively, seemingly waiting for Envy to move, and as they're so focused on cocktail, Snake just hops out white window and kills 2 of them. Fultz will hit the rappel and pick up Snake as he tries to move back in. Benja got another one too, and somehow, despite that chaos, we're back to a 2v2. This would be SSG's second 2v4 in 2 days. Benja, in particular, winning in against Cloud9 yesterday. He creeps down white stairs, clearly worried about his back line. Fultz out on rappel. Benja moving his way in, but with one close in library, the intel's lacking completely for Space Station. And for Benja Master right there, his run comes to an end, and Fultz will hang silent on the cocktail window as Envy take one right back.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate for Benja, but it'll leave him in those positions enough times, and eventually he is going to stop being able to pull that rabbit out of the hat. He was 6-1 there at the end of that last round. He'll be 6-2 now going into round number 4. A close round again there for SSG, and to be honest, one that they didn't have much business it being that close in. Envy getting that opening pick onto the Ashen, and we really didn't see the full plan unfold for how SSG wanted to play that. No real surprise now to see the Azami removed, and it will likely free SSG up a little bit in terms of their operator selection, maybe not relying so heavily on those DMRs. Quickly followed by a tactical timeout, by the way. They must have called this at the end of round number 3. We go through the ban phase, and now we have the timeout ahead of getting stuck into round number 4.
I'm very glad to see that Azami go for the same reason you mentioned. Well, obviously forced their hand to bring a lot of those DMRs, but also at the same time, it was one of the key reasons. I mean, or they lost round one. They had a good solution, don't get me wrong. They naded the right spot, it landed in bunker with JJ sitting behind Akiba watching Freezer, but he's able to dodge it and immediately retake the position, and you're kind of screwed if you can't get an angle on that with the DMR. So taking it off is going to be very useful, especially since aside from Bakery, she's been brought every round, but as we do take that tactical timeout, it was a very quick one for SSG in round 2, but when they've actually tried to play normal, go for their full clears, do normal stuff on Cafe, that is really where they've struggled. Envy have been able to get aggressive early, win those fights, and when they've not needed to, like in round 1, they just played the setup. Envy are doing what you'd hope they do when they're trying to bounce back from their record. They've shown they can play disciplined, showed they can play the setup on Kitchen. Nobody contesting that middle floor. Everybody playing on site. Round 3, they know Cocktail, you don't have a lot of room to sit. You got to get aggressive on those windows. They get aggressive, and they win it. They're showing they understand the sites they're playing. They're showing they can take it to SSG in the early game, which is something I in particular was worried about. So with SSG taking this pause, I like it, especially on the attacking side, obviously. But I really got to see as we go back to basement, hopefully a bit quicker on this full clear and a bit more decisive when it comes to clearing out that utility in sight.
Yeah, I really want to see how the rounds play out from here with that Azami being removed. I think we've stressed the point, but it is just so crucial. And it is going to force Envy to play in a very different way. And as such, it'll give SSG a little bit more freedom. You can see the lineup that they've brought this time. They've got a bit more space. They've got the Dokkaebi in there. Obviously, the Deimos has been removed. They're still going to be running the shield. That's 3 different players that have picked that shield up so far. But Fultz, Ashen, and Newers all play a shield in this matchup. As we've already mentioned, searching for the gap almost that Forest has left in this team. And no one wanting to stick it so far. Somewhere that SSG have been very good historically inside of Stage 1 has been that entry. They were unsuccessful in the previous round, and it really cost them. And again, unsuccessful here. An early C4 from JJ is going to see J90 sent to the cameras. He's only been able to get 1 Selma out there as well.
I mean, you got to hand it to Envy right now. That's 3 of the 4 opening duels going Envy's way. And against SSG, that is so impressive. But pushing his luck a little bit, JJ tries to spray down Fultz on the upside-down rappel. And not only does that Capital get 1, he picks up 2. Twist feeling pressure inside of the site as I wanted SSG to pick up the pace. And look at this. Benja already on the red stairs landing, waiting for that second call to charge so he can either take the fight to the player outside prep or creep into red and deal with Emilio. Of course, Twist is looking at that position, but he's got to do double duty at the moment. Maybe Rival can help cover Bakery, but as the Monty pushes up, we'll give intel to the rest of the team where these players are playing. Spotted 1 and make that 2. 1 inside a coat. 1 at the Bakery double towards the interior of the site. Emilio will back off and seed coat check, but that's a powerful position given up.
Ashen one bullet away here, but wins the engagement on Emilio. That's the green light for Benja to start pushing forward as well. Fultz, he can start to get the plant down, and SSG have got a great cutoff here. A lot relies on Rival making smart plays here. He's not going to be able to stop the diffuser going down, and look at Ashen go.
What more could you want? What more could you want? SSG picking up the pace and then some. Twist in a difficult position. Will check, coat check. Very logical position for a player to play in this post. What you don't expect is Ashen prone with the secondary shoddy. Nobody is going to anticipate that one. And SSG, nobody able to keep a consistent lead, back and forth, tit for tat, tie game once again. Look back to round 1, Ollie. Nobody on that second floor. Took them like 2 minutes to get to mining and do vert.
Yeah.
Not even a minute and 10 seconds in, Benj is on red stairs landing. And he's there the rest of the round until we get to the execute. Sure, they were struggling a little bit. JJ gets that opening kill. C4 out the door. Love that. Envy been so confident this game, and I really appreciate it. Maybe overplays a little right here, but Fultz finding that second kill onto the player Bakery, you just make the whole round for them at that point. It was a 5v5 up until 30 seconds left in round 1. First kill and first engagements come out before we even hit the 2-minute mark this go around, and it favors SSG. Not really hard to see the picture for why that round turned out the way it did.
No, well-timed timeout there for SSG. Very quickly nipping things in the bud. The question is, can they do it again? The Different site this time. Envy choosing not to re-pick downstairs into the kitchen. Instead, going to opt for a little bit more of an upstairs hold. They haven't really got the tools necessarily to do so. They've brought the laser gates. They're going to be able to place those out there and soak up a little bit of utility. That is about the limit of that utility soak. The rest is going to be focused a little bit more in the trap area. Maybe just trying to stop players like Benja being given so much space. Goo mines on some staircases. We've got a couple of FNATs flying out there, but Ashen is going to be able to gather a lot of that info on IQ's scanner. Should be able to ping it out for the team.
Always a nice find. Not always. Sometimes you bring the IQ, there's no electronics, and you feel silly, but when you do see that lineup and you can spot things like FNOTs, you feel quite good. SSG pushing in the cocktail. Benja moving on in. It's still Envy getting the opening engagement for so far, but Benja trying to peek around the smoke will eventually find Rival, but Emilio's creeped right up behind. And out goes the Aurora from Cocktail. Bolt's creeping on in, back on that Capital. This advantage changing hands so rapidly. Feels so haphazard and tenuous control for either team. But it's SSG coming away with the 3v2. Fultz inside of the site, putting down the diffuser. They lose one body, but they gain the post, and that might just be what matters. Fultz is out of all that utility, watching close while Ashen peeks long, able to get the first, not the second, but Ashen playing the trade. It is as close can get in a very loose grip on round 5, but SSG cling just enough fingers to it and pull victory out of a hat.
It's the duality of SSG as a team, isn't it? They can be one of the best teams in North America, and then they can give us a game like this against Envy, where everyone... I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Everyone low-key writes Envy off coming into this one, given that they're 9th going into it. And you look at SSG and you think, yeah, they should be, you know, top 4, top 3 team. And then the rounds are this close.
You can never...
It's just wild to think. Real scrappy stuff. I mean, Benja there with the space that he was able to create, it was a brilliant use of Aurora as well, because he cut off the double door toward planks. That was what allowed him then to hop in and play with a little bit of surety and a bit of safety. But as soon as that disappears, bang, you got players running through smoke, just headlong into him.
10 seconds remaining.
Whenever SSG plays a team, man, whenever they play a team, you can't count out their opponent. You just can't. Because SSG, they can be the only team with the tournament, aside from Furia, to beat FaZe. SSG can also go 8-6 against Wildcard, or be narrow in a game against Envy, or 2-1 against Black Dragons in Montreal. It's just the way this team is. Some days they're world beaters. Some days it looks like... Sometimes it looks like Roller Monday is going to be too far away. Or Roller Saturday, excuse me. Got the date wrong. Reloading. But they got the lead right now. 3-2. In the post, nonetheless, good trades played between Ashen and Fultz right there, keeping that man advantage intact through to the very end. But Envy are not scared. Envy are not daunted. Still playing aggressive, positioned quite forward with that C4. Twist will send one out, but Ben just sees it coming. Backs up. I don't think a single iota of damage done to a player on SSG.
Key piece of utility as well when you look at the lineup. They only see 4. Everything else has gone from being sort of trap focused to a little bit more information focused. You've got Maestro cameras. You have an Echo. Those yokai drones, they are going to be good for not much. If they're out there, you can use them as a camera, but you're not going to have that stunning effect. Everything now being sent in toward the Pixel, as Ashen will pre-fire on, but it's J9O to pick up his second of the round. And information or not, it isn't going to stop SSG from tearing through this top floor.
Jesus Christ! Newer's decimating those 2 players on Cocktail, and Twist just sprints right into Benja. All smiles after that round on SSG, because if this looked like it was going to be a close game going into round 4, and even coming out of round 4, that round was anything but. Aside from their flawless in round 2, SSG's most dominant victory that half, coming at the very end and securing a 4-2 on their attacking side. I also agree with you, Ollie, that it was a bold decision to use their 1C4 early. I also have to say, Normally, when we see players positioned as aggressively as that Echo, it's an Azami playing behind Kibas, not just kind of out in the open, free for anybody to take. And he just died. It's very lackluster final round for Envy going into this side swap, and now they're on the harder side, and 4-2, not nearly as competitive a half as it felt like it could have been earlier on. Ban phase just finishing up, though, is what we see SSG do for their defenses. Well, because of Envy, it certainly won't involve anything related to Azami or Mira, not only two of the strongest ops in the game, but two particularly strong ops on Cafe.
It was a different game after the Azami got banned, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We didn't see Envy with the look in, and it's a point we stressed, and I kind of feel a little bit more vindicated now because it does just go to show how powerful that can be. Envy trying to switch gears, recognizing that SSG, they were looking to take early control. They were looking maybe for plants and thinking maybe about a little bit of denial at range, you know, some camera denial, whether that's the Yokais or Maestro Evil Eyes. But it never even come down to that. SSG just tore through them. And as such, we are at the side swap. SSG lead 4 rounds to 2. But it is quite a different landscape this time around. SSG have gotten into this phase, and the Blitz and the Brava are both removed. The Azami and the Mirror, as you've already mentioned, Lynx have gone as well. But there are other things that you can employ. Banshee is something that's going to be available, and Benja is going to rock onto that straight away and get them placed in and around the staircases. Should help things a little bit if anyone wants to try and get a little bit sneaky and try and gain a bit of ground here from this Envy side.
Well, like I mentioned, against Shopify last week, one of the key rounds Envy won. Shopify, to be fair, were giving away a lot of advantages, but one of the rounds Envy genuinely won from start to end great was when Rexon was playing Malusi. They spotted him all the way up on the top floor placing Banshees. They saw one wasn't on white. They figured, hey, if he's placing it, he's not going to be here until later in the round. We might be able to make something happen here. So Envy they understand how to play around those stairwells if you give them a gap on the attack that they can exploit. And bringing that Banshee, you want to make sure everything is locked down. And even if some staircases aren't, keep an eye on it. Dokupi call will go out. No mute jammers to silence those phones. You'll have to do so manually. But nobody from Envy capitalizing off that information. Twist will certainly have heard somebody moving around the red stairs, but it's Bakery. You know someone's going to be there.
The lineup that speaks of a roam clear that maybe doesn't exist. You brought the Dokupi, you brought the Deimos. We can see all 5 players in one overhead view right now on that first floor level. And Nuas, he's going to be making good with that DMR. It removes any ability to make considerable vert. And as such, it means that the players inside the site are going to be even safer right now. The Twitch drone can go through and cause a little bit of havoc. Get rid of a couple of those Vulcan packs. You do wonder, are we even going to get to the Vulcan canister stage of this round? Because Envy, they're kind of just petering out a little bit.
No Azami to run into either. This is just Newers finding a vert hole, getting that first pick, but Envy stalling out of their own accord. Dokupi called that you said went out earlier was for that roam clear, and there was nobody home. All 5 on the bottom floor. But now we have some very good operators, the Deimos and the Grim, hopefully to isolate and power through this bottom white player. Janino might be able to look through these smokes, but he's about to get a whole lot of pressure. No nades on the board, but some flashbangs, some smokes, and certainly more bees as Ashen sprays right across Snake's head, but one of those bullets bound to land. He goes for seconds and comes away feeling quite satisfied with himself. 5-1. As it's in the late round that SSG defenders now decide to make their way up to the second floor on the wraparound. Rival will find his second. It'll have to be 6-6, an even KD, and a 1v5 to boot. If Envy want to narrow this lead to just 1 round, Smoke Canister will go out, stop his push. But with the odds he's looking at, it is simply not possible. Not in this universe and not in any alternate. 5-2 now for SSG. And what do you know? They just sit on site, wait, and win the gunfights presented to them.
Bit of a strange round from Envy, to be honest with you. SSG, they had things, but none of it was insurmountable. Banshee, barbed wire, smoke canisters, it just requires a little bit of time. It requires a little bit of information gathering.
Util clear.
Exactly.
Attackers need to
And I just
locate
don't
and
think
defuse
that
any bombs
Envy
they have.
prioritized the right things. The last final few seconds of that round was a great example. You've got a player that's trying to get down brownstairs because it's one of his only options given the time. He's got barbed, a Banshee, and then a smoke canister gets thrown there because they know exactly where he's coming from. SSG really just seem to be cruising through this fixture at the moment. And Envy need to find something right now to get themselves back in it, because if they don't,
10 seconds left.
it's going to end quite quickly.
5 seconds
What do
to go.
you go to, though? I mean, I guess here, double shield. If we're being literal, the answer they feel is double shield. None brought previously. Now we've got the Montaigne and the Blackbeard. Hold on. Pulse waiting to hear if anybody goes up on that rappel, so we can go for a cheeky swing, but he'll be waiting there for a little bit to be sure. Reading room defense from SSG. Remember, when they brought a shield, put Ashen on that blitz, they immediately sprinted through the snow door. Envy not want to do that this time. Likely going for the full clear through the top, and if you want to secure that control and not try to lose a lot of time like you did in round 7, having the Monty and the Blackbeard just to brute force it. The Monty is that human drone. The Blackbeard is the space maker. It's a good lineup to do it. We'll just have to see if it works out that way.
I get the double shield, but I look at the supporting cast and I kind of just question it a little bit. They had a Deimos, they had a Dokkaebi previously. They would have been fantastic. At the moment, it doesn't feel like they really know where many players are. The drones, not in the best spots. They've got one in cocktail. A couple of players have now dropped through. JJ can move through for free, but the C4's below. Only a matter of time, really, until one of those gets caught. Oh, look at the timing. It's so beautiful
They're
when
playing
that
with
comes off. Ashen lining it up there with Rival just perfectly. One of the 2 shields has now been taken out, and everyone else is walking on the floor as if it's hot lava because they know that there's information afoot.
It's also one of those moments for Rival where it's like, sure, you maybe assume it's safe, but you've got no control around the site, no angle on that position, and you open the hatch. You could have just dropped it, played it safe, gone with the rest of the team, but you chance it on that. It might seem silly in hindsight, but could have played it safer. And SSG, the moment Envy started moving across that long haul, they immediately fell back, played the C4s, playing white stairs, playing these close angles. Fultz finds one, and JJ kind of stuck on this white stairs position. With one player just around the corner, you can probably assume somebody's white landing and he'll push deeper, but Newers just takes down his coverage. Emilio's by himself. That sentry, he's not risking it. He's checking every angle. He's not assuming anything's clear. Ashen, neither is he. Snake sprays everywhere but the player shooting at him. 8-7 might be in the cards, but no, not even that. SSG's second flawless round. They're first on the defense. We are at 6-2 match point. 5 in a row. You can go accolade after accolade, stat after stat, and SSG are leading.
We were worried about the supporting cast for the shields, and I think we were right to be worried.
Did we need the Finka?
I don't think we needed the Finka. I'm gonna be straight.
Deimos is nades.
I don't think that was. I don't think that was necessary in the composition. I would have liked a little bit of roam clear potentially.
You know what, Ollie?
Envy.
Ollie, compare contrast SSG's timeout to this. SSG take a timeout at 2-1. It is 6-2.
I'm a hater of late timeouts in games that are like this. I love an early timeout. Nip it in the bud, calm the nerves, get rid of the tension, all the high frequency number stuff.
Above the shoulders mustard stuff.
Get it all out there. The late timeout is always a bit of a sign of desperation. And Envy are desperate, let's be honest. They're facing match point. They've got a long gold mountain to climb. They haven't been successful on the attack as of yet. They aren't a terrible team for attack inside of the NAL, but they're certainly not up there.
You know
Somewhere
what?
that they've shone tonight is the entry.
You
When
know
they've
what?
got the entry, they've been able to convert the round. But when you look at the face of it and you think, okay, they got 2 rounds on the defense and both rounds Azami was in play. Since Azami got banned, they haven't won a round on the defense and they're yet to win a round on the attack.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't know if it needs much more explanation than that.
Well, I mean, if you want to delve into the nuance a little bit, I think, you know, if you want to compare and contrast this game against SSG to the Shopify game last week, NB come out of their defenses 3-3 half, but then they answer back with their 3-3 attacking half, right? Very good. Let me just read down this for you. Emilio 3K, Emilio 1v3, Snake 4K, JJ Blastful 3K, JJ 1v2, Rival 4K, Rival 4K, Rival 1v1. Big pop-off. Not necessarily great universal performances, but when Shopify were giving slight openings, even slight ones, to an individual player,
Yeah.
Envy were capable of hitting those out of the park, able of making those shots and making those plays when the opportunities were given to them. I think, to be fair, SG maybe aren't giving as many openings as Shopify, but if you just look at the individual performances, aside from Snake, barely anybody shooting back. Even if there is a gap presented in a gunfight that they could win, SSG are winning them far more often, and it's SSG. Not only do we know they're going to give you gunfights, we know that there's a decent chance they might give you ones that actually favor you. They like to move. They like to overextend a little bit. And they're just failing to hit it out of the park today. And I mean, there's other reasons too. You know, obviously time management on their attack or on their attacking side so far. As SG doing a great job on these defenses, but just feels like a whole lot of nothing for Envy right now.
Yeah. SSG are playing very tight, and I think that that's important on the defense. You might have the advantage. You might feel like strategically or whatever, you've got a better handle of the game, but they're not giving as many opportunities away. This position from J9O right now, he is tucked into that pixel spot. Got his magnets. He knows he's relatively safe right now. As long as he doesn't overextend, should be okay.
Oh, okay.
Snake is going to drop and pick him up. Ideally, Snake would have been shot a little bit earlier, but Action was busy. He was busy taking Emilio out, picking up his 2nd kill of the round, and oh, when it rains, it pours.
It looked good for about 3 seconds. I see Snake move up. I'm like, okay, they actually pinched this guy Pixel, picking up the pace a little bit. I liked it. Oh, they've walked into the rest of the setup. Didn't really have any contingencies for Ashen, playing Cocktail like he's been the whole round. No contingencies for the guy White Stairs. Very common position to play on a 2nd floor extension. SSG weren't exactly throwing out something crazy at Envy there. There was a, well, my Pixel, he's been playing that spot since 2020. And as JJ goes down, he's alone trying to pick that up. Rival is literally opening up floorboards as JJ pushes through that doorway. He cannot help you. And he goes down. Rival in a 1vx, Ashen 13 and 2. Might make it 14 for an even 7 KD, perhaps? So I don't think. No, that's Benja getting double digits at the end of the game. 7-2 for SSG. Was a bit of a closer game for Dark Zero, but if you are a Titan in the NAL today, M80, Dark Zero, and SSG all coming away with the W.
Yeah, normal service has resumed. Those couple of early rounds from Envy were very short-lived. It didn't take long. For SSG to take a very firm grip of their matchup tonight here on Cafe. We saw a nice bit of adaptation as well from this SSG side. We saw them dip their toe into the shield play, which is something that the desk was asking for. I wonder if they talk about it in the interview. We're going to hit the break, and then we'll be back.
More passive. Low time.
Okay, you have the cross? Nice. Oh, he's bucking me out.
Just get it. Go play bottom right. Perfect.
Drop pillar.
Drop pillar.
I'm
going
taking
up. You go up. You go up.
I want to die to
Perfect,
Gridlocks.
Benja.
Nice.
Nice. Good fucking shit.
Go.
Was good.
Damn, cool, calm, and collected. There's like, good. Great. 7-2, just another day in the office for SSG.
Yeah, it was. It was a dominant performance. That's what we want to see from SSG. Obviously, when they're playing against a team like Envy or any of the teams at the bottom, we want to see consistency from them on that front. Obviously, the biggest question comes to having that consistency towards the harder teams, but great way to end it out. And obviously, at the end there, I mean, what a calming voice Fultz has. I love hearing him just talk all the players through it.
I mean, I think a big question for me at the start of that was, who's going to be a shield player? What are they going to do? And I said I wanted to see the shield play because it could boost their standings in terms of their overall attack success. And sure enough, we saw Ashen stepping up, Fultz playing different shields. They were definitely playing more versatile. They talked about how flexible they are, and we're actually starting to see that shield play come into fruition, which I'm sure is going to only propel them further in the standings in terms of their attack overall win rate.
Yeah, it's a good position to be in for them, but for Envy, I think even more questions were raised from this performance, because coming into this, Fox, you were like, oh yeah, there potentially is a world where they can win it, like there is an opportunity, there is a possibility if they do X, Y, Z correctly, but they just didn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like what Envy was bringing to the table, especially once they got to their attacks, the double shield with the Monty and the BB. Obviously, SSG had a really good response to that. They were prepared, so I think the two playstyles match up better for SSG. They're going to fight them head on. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. I look at Envy and I see lights of improvement. They're trying to improve, so I'll give that to them.
You can see the potential, but it's not like fully there. But the black light detail is going to be going over to SSG Ashen to be specifically, because you know what? He had another great performance.
Yeah, I mean, this just is starting to be the norm again. We're talking about Ashen when it comes to this SSG roster, but rightfully so. The versatility from Ashen in his own right. I mean, he's just such a staple player on this team. And, I don't even think we call him a rookie at this point anymore. He's already gone through gone through his hurdles, gone through his, I wouldn't even say ups and downs. He's always been quite the performer. But the fact that, he is stepping into this role again of just being able to be that aggressive player, but something that I'm really appreciating, that he is going back to that shield play where we didn't see that success in reload, but that's not hindering him. That's not making him scared to take that chance, take that risk, because someone on the team eventually has to do that. And even him doing that now, still going 13-2, I mean, that speaks margins in terms of his own character development.
I just love seeing the discipline out of him. Like a lot of those rounds, SSU would be up, 5 to 2 people or 4. They'd have such a man advantage, and every single time that Ashen was on the screen right there, he would get a kill, and then you'd see him post it up. He's holding closet, or he's downstairs with a C4, waiting for his teammates to give him the communication. He's not going out of his way to get those kills. He's playing discipline, and I'd say that's great character development for him.
Yeah, we have Jane and Owen for the interview as well, just to ask a couple potentially hard-hitting questions. I don't know, but congratulations on another win. 3 points once again added to where you guys are at, and you're pretty high up in the standings. What would you say were your key takeaways from this week? Because we see you guys improving game day after game day, so what would that be?
Well, thank you. And yeah, I mean, we just go into the games with the same amount of preparation. Doesn't matter who we're playing, and just executing the game plan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we see that when you guys play against the bottom teams, it's usually a slaughter. When you guys play against the top teams, there is a little bit of back and forth, and we're all asking the question of how does SSG get to that consistent level where you guys are always looking dominant, not just against the bottom teams, but against the top teams too. What does that answer look like from you guys? What does consistency, the road to it, look like?
Yeah, I mean, we try our best versus whoever. We're trying to beat the top teams just as much as we're trying to beat the bottom teams. So just going in there, prepping, checking all the boxes. So
Type.
Well, I'm curious in terms of the flexibility in terms of the roster. We saw at Reload, you guys tried, playing around Newers, putting Ashen back on that shield. Then we see him today. You guys now putting him back on the shield. Fultz play a little bit of the shield. Kind of what's the look ahead going forward in terms of adding the shield meta into your guys' just overall play, whereas obviously Forrest took a lot of that forefront?
yeah, I think actually Newers played it once today as well, and losing Forrest was pretty big, and we just all kind of stepped up into his role, and we're all very flexible players, so I think we were able to do it pretty well.
Who would you say is the worst player on Shield? You don't want to see them on Shield on your team.
That's why you had to mention Newers. That's why I said, yeah, we saw him once. That's gonna be the only time we see him.
I don't think it's a matter of fact of him being the worst on shields. It's just he's just the best shooter. He has very good mechanics, so it just doesn't make sense to put him on the shield.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Sounds like you guys are figuring things out as time's going along. So, again, thank you so much for your time for the interview. We're going to let you go. Good luck with your games next week as well.
Thank you very much.
That was not very
Have a good one.
smooth. English is getting a little bit more difficult as
the
these
night
games
goes
go
on.
by.
I'll say as the night goes on. You know, I thought he wasn't going to throw anyone under the bus. I thought he was just going to be like, you know what,
Yeah.
we all have our kinks, our own weaknesses, but he did throw Newers under the bus, so that is pretty
I mean,
funny.
to be fair, he did give a very valid reason.
Yeah,
where
no,
I was like,
it's fair,
not
it's
because
fair.
he's terrible. It's like he's good
I
at
personally
other
wouldn't
things.
want to put Newers on shields either, given how well mechanically gifted he is in terms of his aim. I just wouldn't trust Newers on that shield. Even if he could play it, I would
didn't you
just
get
rather see him in
dropped
different
from... Anyways,
position.
schedule in terms of the games that we are going to still be looking at for the rest of today, because we only wrapped up 3 so far, actually. Okay, it's going by pretty fast. Shopify against Cruelty and OXG against Orgless. Now, OXG is getting maybe a little bit of a free one. This is like another
Why'd
time.
you skip over that first one?
Because it's Shopify
OXG is
Cruelty. Like,
getting the free one?
I don't want to like say, I don't want to be mean, but
Okay.
like it's Shopify Cruelty. Okay,
I know.
what do you want to say here, Lax? Speak your truth.
I was just
Say it
curious
with your
why you skipped
chest.
over the first one. I'll easily go off of your Oxygen versus Orgless. I mean, I think if you're going to compare these last 2 games, which one's probably going to be the more hype, which one could possibly be a little closer, it would
last
definitely
one.
be the Oxygen Orgless. I wouldn't put too much on that SR Cruelty game.
Well, there you go.
For the next game, obviously,
I acknowledged it.
when you go up against a team with that much discipline, that good, the firepower's on all fronts, some of the best players in the world, of course, you're going to expect Cruelty to win because...
Okay, people, you know what? You guys actually are like a little funny today. I'm proud of both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are having a little bit of
Try
a
to be comical
personality.
from time to time.
Yeah, not very often. But you're doing great. But yeah, OXG going up against Orgless, and then we have Shopify Cruelty. That's the game that is going to be coming up next, so make sure you stick around, because although it might be very one-sided, there is a world somewhere
is.
out there,
There's
a
a world.
universe where Cruelty
this
does have
one.
a chance. So make sure you stick around and see whether or not we live in it.